I'm live. All right. I'm gonna wait like 30 seconds, but I have Instagram, I have Facebook, I have YouTube, and then I have another Facebook account. So I got it all covered here. But if you're trying to live a healthier life, especially if you have fibroids, you are in the right place. So happy Self-Care Sunday, because that's what it is. And as you guys have been following me on every piece of social media, you will know I've been promoting eating fibroid healthy. And the reason why is because it's near and dear after my heart. I'm Nina from the Keep It 100 Girl podcast. And if you listen to season 2, episode number 7, I revealed my fibroid truth. And that is, you can live with fibroids without surgery. And I really caution people to have the conversation with a medical professional, because I am not one. So let's be clear from the get-go. The purpose of going live today is to give you that runway, right? To ask the questions to the right people. And that's your OBGYN. And whether you choose to go the naturopathic route, right, you have the option to also go to your acupuncturist and naturopath. A naturopath is just a person who explores more, let's say, non-chemical, natural ways of healing, opposed to synthetic and prescriptions that oftentimes our OBGYN person will subscribe to us. So just want to do a pulse check. Can everybody hear me? Because I want to make sure that you guys hear every nugget of information. So if you can't hear me, just put it in the comments in the chat and I will make sure that I'm talking a little louder, but hopefully you can hear me. So today, thanks everybody. Today you're here because it's no more excuses. You are taking charge of your health, which I am so proud that you're here today. And it means that you are taking this condition that you have or know of seriously, and you should. Now, if you're in your 20s, you have a long way ahead to go before you get to the M train, then that's menopause. And if you're in your 30s, you are in your reproductive years. And even your hormones might be raging out of control. And if you're in your 40s and above, I'm not saying anything, but you are on that decline. Let's be clear, that's what's happening. And I think that's why I took the route not to do surgery, because everything's kind of phasing out on its own. Now, that's not the case with everybody, but here's my story. Was on birth control forever and a day, on and off, on and off, on and off. And if you guys don't know, birth control is synthetic hormones. So you're pumping more estrogen into your body. And not only that, you're already eating like estrogen unfriendly foods, right? So the starches, the refined sugars, the coffee, the alcohol for you carnival goers. That's you I'm talking to out there. And you can't, and dairy. We as women of color, dairy does not agree with you. I'm telling you plain and simple. And if you have a puffy face, puffy arms, you need to get rid of dairy and wheat from your diet. Now, okay? So I didn't know all this. And I think what I shared on my podcast, the Keep It 100 Girl podcast, listen to episode number 7, because I go through all the culprits that I discovered during my journey. And like, you won't know that I even have a fibroid, right? Look at my belly. Look. Do you know I have a fibroid? Well, there's 2 types of fibroids, people. one that's inside your uterine and one that's outside. So mine is inside, but I've been able to control it, which was never always the case. I think the most embarrassing moment was bleeding. It was just, where did it come from? This excessive bleeding. It was like Niagara Falls times 10 on my day 2 of my cycle. And I was just like, this is not normal. I have always had an uneventful period, right? It started on day 1, it pretty much ended on day 4, and just I had little drip drops until 5. And that's always how it's been. So where does all this bleeding come from? Well, come to find out, you go to your OBGYN, and because you're a woman of color, you're already labeled, right? They'll say, well, African American women, have this condition. And I'm like, hello, I am Black, but I'm not African American. But just so you know, that's what they're gonna tell you, point blank. And they'll always size you up and say like, well, this was your destiny. And it's like, no, it's not my destiny. So it's really important that you know what questions to ask when you go see the OBGYN. And that's what I'm gonna tell you now. And depending on where you are in your age range, you should always get a blood test where they test your estrogen level. And that will be a clear indication if you are an estrogen dominant female or not. And the easiest, most relatable example to determine if you are estrogen dominant is this: your boobs. Do you remember if your boobs were sore during your cycle, or like not during your cycle, right before your cycle? And for me, when they were sore, I was like, this is not normal, or this was just part of knowing that my cycle was coming. And I'm like, no, that's just not normal. That's what I've come to realize. This was all estrogen here. That's what was making my boobs sore. And then we always have a tendency before our cycle, right, to eat estrogen unfriendly foods, the sugars, the chocolates, the refined carbohydrates. I mean, we just go to the nines thinking this is normal, but you're actually making it a lot worse. And come to find out, even having ice in your drinks prior to your period throws off what in acupuncture they'll call the chi. So you're actually not promoting blood circulation in this area. And estrogen feeds off blood. They feed off sugar. If you don't go to the bathroom, they feed off all those toxins that you have in your body. So it's really important that you are flushing all that out and that you are going to the bathroom. People, you have to be regular. Like I'm talking once, twice a day. 3 times is a bonus. All right, but really, it's really important that number 1 is to test your estrogen level. So when you get your physical every year, you say to your doctor, test my estrogen levels and your blood work. And then there's also alternative ways to test how estrogen dominant you are, and it's called thermology. I always mispronounce it, but what they do is they scan your body from head to toe, and you will see like these heat maps of your body and where you have the heaviest concentration of estrogen, which is interesting because then you can focus on those particular areas as well. And I will, let you guys know all these tips later on. So where does that bring us now? Well, I can share with you just some of the things, like especially if you're on a budget, what I consider the must-haves. The must-haves that you have to have in your diet, or at least take for balancing your hormones. Right? Because surgery is surgery. It's evasive. It's serious business. And when some people make the decision to remove their uterus, that's even a bigger deal. So I wanted you to make sure you had an understanding of what estrogen is. And yes, as you age, you lose estrogen. But I think the biggest misnomer is what the OBGYN is going to do is they're going to give you a script for birth control. And if you have been off birth control, the last thing you want to do is get back on it. Because again, you're pumping that estrogen and they know you're aging and you're losing that estrogen. So, but it defeats the purpose, right? It just masks the problem. So why not attack the problem through food, vitamins, and just consuming the right things that are estrogen friendly. And that's really what I wanted to cover today really quickly, because I want to make sure you guys incorporate these things and know what foods to avoid and what foods to consume. And I might not have time to go through everything, but at least I can jumpstart your lifestyle in 2018. And if we need to do this again, I can go in more depth. I could even like just demo different stuff that I put together, whether it's meals, juices, smoothies, but this is really how I've been able to maintain and shrink this fibroid. Yes, I still have it, but the last time when I had an internal exam, the doctor said, you know what, whatever you're doing, just keep on doing it. So I was like, peacing out. Yep. And I got acupuncture done. So they actually inserted needles in my pelvic area, which is not that bad as it sounds. And she even had this, they call it a Moxie stick, which is this herbal heat that they put on your stomach, all to reduce the actual fibroid, or just making sure that it does not grow in size or really not become hard. I think once it becomes hard, then it might be just cause for just looking into it a little further. But if you have a soft fibroid, it's okay. Right, so that brings me, or maybe I should pause. Does anyone have any questions they want to throw at me? Because what I'll do next, I'll kind of just give you an understanding of what estrogen-friendly foods are. So you make sure that when you make your grocery run, that you incorporate these items in your fridge. So if there's no questions, I will start with the obvious, because kale is everything, right? It is. And there's different types of kale. Now you have the curly, big, bushy kale, which I have in my fridge, but I also, which everybody's familiar with, but I also wanted to share the Tuscan Kale. And I prefer this one because it's like, it's a dark green and it's crisper, and it actually tastes a lot better. I just typically will make a Caesar salad out of this. I will warm it up in the microwave for like, no lie, like 20 seconds, or just saute it over the stove for like no more than 5 minutes, if even. And I'll put my Cardini Caesar dressing and tomatoes, and we're good to go. I really, really like this version of kale much better. I do use it in smoothies because you don't have that thick stem like you do with the bushy kale. So which is why I like this one better. Inflammation is a big deal. Like if you find that you have a lot of water retention, this is actual turmeric. It's the actual turmeric opposed to the powder, opposed to the drops. You would just simply cut these up and boil it in water and make some turmeric tea. And that's always good. First thing in the morning, it's always good to have, your body absorbs liquid much faster. So that's a good way to start your day. You could add lemon, you could add honey, you could add non-dairy milk, so like rice milk, almond milk, you have cashew milk. There's all kinds of stuff out there. And then another easy breezy one is apple cider vinegar. Absolute must. Good for skin, removing toxins, melting fat. I mean, it's just a multi-purpose solution to add to your water You just add like a couple of tablespoons or to your liking, because it has a sharp taste to it. And again, that's really good to make you regular. So I highly encourage that. When we talk about hormones, like this is a bad boy right here. It's called Maca. And Maca is really good for balancing your hormones. I caution you not to take a lot of this because it will make you horny. And you might be like, oh, but yeah, it really does, seriously. But it's a superfood, and it's excellent, excellent, excellent for balancing your hormones. And another thing that I take as well is kelp. Kelp is good if you have a thyroid issue, like weight gain and stuff. You want to be eating a lot of seaweed. Whether, you know, you go to the Asian store and you buy seaweed, kelp, they have kelp noodles, which I do have in the fridge. Brussels sprouts are excellent. I never really ate Brussels sprouts until I moved to the United States. But what I tend to do with these is chop them up, saute them, put balsamic vinaigrette and honey, a little bit of honey, and I saute them over the stove in olive oil, pour olive oil over it, and it's yummy. This kills estrogen, people. Kale, spinach, Brussels sprouts, spinach, and you notice everything is fresh from the grocery store. I don't buy canned, I don't buy frozen, Hey Gabby, can you break down kale without cooking it? Look for lemon. Wait, so this is what Gabby says. She says, you can break down lacinato dinosaur kale without cooking it. Look for lemon or organic apple cider vinegar with the mother. Does this have the mother? Oh, I didn't know about the mother. Thank you for that. So yeah, so just to her point again, she says you could break down this dinosaur-like kale by using apple cider vinegar. So I did not know that. That's really a good tip. Also, you should wash your veggies with some kind of veggie wash, and as Gabby pointed out, like wash it with apple cider vinegar and get rid of all those pesticides, which doesn't help either. So when I talk about toxins earlier and getting rid of them, making sure you're regular, because estrogen feeds off your, actually not just estrogen, but your fibroid feeds off toxins. So if you're not regular, again, if you're not going to the bathroom at least twice a day, there's a problem. Every day there's a problem. And you see, like back in the day, I didn't go regular. I didn't know you had to, I was going every 2 days. I didn't know what was even regular. So that resulted in acne, because obviously if my body is not able to get rid of the SHIT, then it comes out on your skin. That's part of the reason for adult acne, right? Because your hormones are raging and you're not getting rid of those toxins. FYI, beets, you might have heard it, but truthfully, it's real. It gets rid of, it cleans your liver. So all you alcoholics out there, you need to be eating these beets. Let's be real. There's so many ways to consume this, whether you bake it in the oven, whether you have it in your smoothie. You don't need a whole beet. This is pretty strong tasting, so I often mask it. Like I'll just take maybe a quarter piece of this, and I'll use lime or lemon to cut the sharp, like beety taste. But I'll use like grapes, I'll use a lot of berries, just to make a combination that will mask the beety taste. Again, going back to water retention and hormones, celery is a winner. Like I always eat celery in my salad, so that's another one. Watercress, love watercress, especially in the summer. I'll mix it up in my smoothies with, whether it's carrot juice, I'll mix it up with watermelon. You just gotta have to experiment based on your taste buds. And cucumber. Cucumber, always after your period, helps flush everything in general, but especially after your period. So I think, you know, when it comes to topical, oh, and I forgot this, aloe vera juice. This is another good one if you have problems going to the bathroom. But lastly, I just want to talk about some topical solutions, because there is one, and I learned in acupuncture that the idea is to promote heat right in your stomach area. And she told me the way to do this. Oh, what happened? Oh, I got a stain. So this is from the beet. Right, so my naturopath told me to put castor oil on your belly. Again, that's really good if you're trying to go to the bathroom, especially when you're traveling. Always travel with castor oil. But you put it on your belly right after the shower. And then you also place it like in between your legs and all on your lymph nodes. So that's here, but more importantly here, because this is where your fibroid is. And then, oh my God, I don't know what happened. And then you put a heating pad on here. Usually like I'll do that if I'm home on the weekends, and just let it sit for like 15-20 minutes. And that you have to do on a regular basis. Just don't do it once thinking it solves the problem. Anything that I'm talking about here today has to be part of your lifestyle. It just can't be like a one-off. So make a commitment to yourself to do that. And then lastly, this magnesium flakes, you could get it on Amazon, any like health food store, like Mom's, Whole Foods carries it. But you could put this in a bottle spray and spray it on your belly after a shower. And magnesium, again, is another way, natural way, to help minimize the fibroid action. And also taking magnesium in general for any female is advisable. It just helps with your period. It helps with the cramps. It helps with leg cramps. Magnesium is every girl's solution. So that's what I had for today. So I just wanted to make sure I was passing the positivity to you guys, because as women of color, it's always important that we share. And if you want anything that I talked about today, if you want a download, if you want tips, go to ihavefibroids.com and just add your email, and we'll make sure to get you the information you need. But that's my story. That's my story. And maybe I didn't go into my story a whole lot, but yeah, I discovered that, you know, after bleeding so much, I was like, this is not normal. I've always had an easy breezy period. What is going on? Went to the OBGYN. She then summed up, oh, well, you know, all women of color have this issue. And I'm like, whatever. So then come to realize after my internal exam that I did have one. And I was thinking, was it birth control all these years? Is it a combination of just eating soy and the wrong foods? Like pumping estrogen into your body after all these years. And then you have the stigma of being black. Is there something associated with that? Who knows? Not proven. But there's so many culprits. And again, I encourage you to listen to episode number 7 of the Keep It 100 Girl podcast, where I go into more depth. But in the end, she gave me the option of doing surgery or just managing it until menopause. And I was like, deuces, I'm opting for the second one. And when I had my next exam, she was just like, whatever you're doing, just keep on doing it, because it hasn't grown, it's actually shrunk. So that's my story. If anybody out there have any other questions or comments that they wanted to share, I got YouTube going, I got Instagram going, I got Facebook going, but I know it's Sunday morning. Some of you probably still asleep, but definitely catch this replay. But if you guys don't have anything, I'm glad you came, and I'm glad for the comments. I'm just seeing here, thanks Denise. And I think I'm gonna call it a wrap if you guys don't have anything else. Peace.